Welcome to English Stories for Listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you genuinely want to be fluent in English.
On November 17th, 2012, Salvador Alvarenga, a seasoned fisherman, set out from the coast of Chiapas, Mexico, in search of a bountiful catch. Alvarenga was an experienced seafarer, accustomed to the capricious nature of the ocean. He was joined by Ezequiel Cordoba, a young and relatively inexperienced fisherman who had recently started working with him. Their boat, a small, open-top fiberglass vessel, was equipped with a haul that would feed their families and support their livelihoods. As they set sail, the weather was fair, and the mood was optimistic. The duo headed out into the vast expanse of the Pacific Ocean, their eyes scanning the water for signs of fish. Hours passed, and their cooler began to fill with the fruits of their labor. But as night fell, the weather took a turn for the worse. Dark clouds gathered on the horizon, and the wind picked up, whipping the ocean into a frenzy. By dawn, the storm had intensified, and the waves grew higher and more violent. Alvarenga and Cordoba struggled to keep their boat afloat, but it was no match for the fury of the sea. They tried to radio for help, but the storm had knocked out their communication equipment. With no other options, they fought to stay afloat, their bodies battered by the relentless waves. The storm raged on for days, pushing their boat further and further out to sea. They drifted helplessly, their supplies dwindling. As the days turned into weeks, their food and water ran out. They were forced to drink rainwater and eat raw fish to survive. The searing sun scorched their skin, and the salt water left their bodies covered in painful sores. Desperation set in, and the reality of their situation became clear. They were lost at sea, with no way to call for help and no idea where they were. They drifted in the vast expanse of the Pacific, their small boat a speck on the endless horizon. Weeks turned into months, and their ordeal became a test of endurance and willpower. Alvarenga and Cordoba faced numerous challenges as they struggled to survive. They battled hunger, thirst, and exposure to the elements. They fought off sharks that circled their boat, attracted by the smell of fish. They endured the psychological toll of isolation, their only company the vast, empty ocean and each other. As time passed, Cordoba's health began to deteriorate. He became weaker and more despondent, his body wasting away from malnutrition and dehydration. Alvarenga tried to keep his spirits up, encouraging him to hold on, but it was clear that Cordoba was losing the battle. After several months, Cordoba succumbed to the harsh conditions and passed away, leaving Alvarenga alone on the boat. The loss of his companion was a devastating blow to Alvarenga, but he refused to give up. He was determined to survive, driven by the hope that he would one day be rescued and reunited with his family. He continued to fish and collect rainwater, doing whatever he could to stay alive. He fashioned makeshift shelters to protect himself from the sun and rain, and he used his clothing to catch the dew that formed on the boat in the early morning hours. Alvarenga's ordeal stretched on for over a year. He kept track of the days by marking the passing of the moon cycles, but the monotony of his existence made it difficult to keep an accurate count. He estimated that he had been adrift for more than 400 days when, on January 30th, 2014, he spotted land on the horizon. The sight of land filled Alvarenga with a renewed sense of hope and determination. He paddled towards the shore with all the strength he could muster, driven by the thought of finally being rescued. As he approached the beach, he was spotted by a group of fishermen who rushed to his aid. They helped him to shore and provided him with food and water, amazed at his incredible story of survival. Alvarenga was taken to a hospital in Majuro, the capital of the Marshall Islands, where he received medical treatment and began the long process of recovery. His story quickly made headlines around the world, and he became a symbol of human endurance and resilience. Over the next several months, Alvarenga slowly regained his strength and was eventually able to return to his home in El Salvador. He was reunited with his family, who had feared the worst and had long since given up hope of ever seeing him again. His incredible survival story became an inspiration to many, a testament to the power of the human spirit and the will to survive against all odds. Salvador Alvarenga's 438-day ordeal in the Pacific Ocean is one of the most remarkable survival stories in history. His resilience, resourcefulness, and determination to survive in the face of seemingly insurmountable odds are a testament to the strength of the human spirit. Salvador Alvarenga's return to civilization was nothing short of miraculous, but it also marked the beginning of a new chapter in his life. The transition from isolation and survival mode to the bustling, connected world was jarring and overwhelming. However, his extraordinary story captivated people worldwide, drawing attention not only to his resilience but also to the broader themes of hope, perseverance, and the will to live. Upon his arrival in the Marshall Islands, Alvarenga's initial days were spent recovering in the hospital. The medical staff was astonished by his survival, given the extreme physical and psychological conditions he had endured. His body bore the scars of his ordeal. He was emaciated. His skin was damaged by constant exposure to the sun and salt water, and he suffered from numerous infections and sores. The doctors worked tirelessly to nurse him back to health, gradually reintroducing him to solid food and treating his wounds. While in the hospital, Alvarenga recounted his story to journalists and authorities. His account of surviving on raw fish, turtles, small birds, and rainwater captivated audiences around the globe. He described how he had navigated the vast ocean, using the stars as his guide and relying on his deep knowledge of fishing to sustain himself. The loss of his companion, Cordoba, was a poignant part of his narrative, highlighting the emotional toll of his journey. After several weeks of treatment, Alvarenga was finally strong enough to leave the hospital. The people of the Marshall Islands treated him with immense kindness and generosity, providing him with clothes, food, and a place to stay while he recovered further. The islanders were fascinated by his story and welcomed him into their community, eager to help him regain his strength. As news of his survival spread, offers of assistance and invitations from around the world poured in. Organizations and individuals were inspired by his resilience and wanted to support him in various ways. Eventually, arrangements were made for his return to El Salvador, where his family awaited him with a mix of disbelief and joy. The reunion with his family was an emotional and heartwarming moment. His mother, who had prayed every day for his safe return, embraced him with tears streaming down her face. Friends and neighbors who had feared he was lost forever welcomed him back with open arms. Alvarenga's homecoming was celebrated with a feast, where he shared his incredible story with his loved ones. Adjusting to normal life after such an extraordinary experience was challenging for Alvarenga. The memories of his time adrift haunted him, and he struggled with nightmares and flashbacks. To help him cope, he sought the support of psychologists and counselors who specialized in trauma. These sessions allowed him to process his experiences and begin to heal emotionally. Despite the difficulties, Alvarenga found solace in sharing his story. He embarked on a speaking tour where he recounted his journey to audiences in schools, community centers, and conferences. His story of survival resonated deeply with people, offering lessons in perseverance, hope, and the power of the human spirit. Through his talks, he emphasized the importance of never giving up, no matter how dire the circumstances. Alvarenga also began working on a book about his ordeal, with the help of a writer who assisted him in capturing the details of his harrowing experience. The process of writing the book was therapeutic, allowing him to reflect on his journey and find meaning in his suffering. The book, titled 438 Days, An Extraordinary True Story of Survival at Sea, became a bestseller and further cemented his place in history as one of the most remarkable survival stories. In the years following his rescue, Alvarenga continued to advocate for ocean safety and the importance of being prepared for emergencies at sea. He worked with organizations that promoted safe fishing practices and provided support to fishermen and their families. His first-hand knowledge of the perils of the ocean made him a valuable advocate for these causes. Alvarenga's experience also sparked interest in the scientific community. Researchers studied his physical and psychological endurance, seeking to understand how he survived such extreme conditions. His ability to adapt and find sustenance in the harsh environment of the open ocean provided valuable insights into human resilience and the limits of human endurance. Throughout all these endeavors, Alvarenga remained humble and grateful. He never saw himself as a hero, but rather as someone who did what was necessary to survive. He often spoke of the inner strength he discovered during his time adrift, a strength he believed everyone possessed but might never realize until faced with a life or death situation. Salvador Alvarenga's story is not just about survival, it is about the unbreakable spirit of a man who refused to give up, no matter how insurmountable the odds. His journey from the brink of death to a life filled with purpose and meaning serves as an enduring inspiration to all who hear it. Through his experiences, Alvarenga demonstrated that the human spirit is capable of enduring unimaginable hardships and emerging stronger and more resilient than ever before. In the end, Salvador Alvarenga's tale is a testament to the power of hope, the will to live, and the extraordinary lengths to which a person can go to survive. It is a story that will continue to inspire and uplift people for generations to come, reminding us all of the incredible strength that lies within the human heart.